What is up, everybody? Welcome into the DNBA live show. I'm your host, Adam Modis. Oh, actually, presented by Illegal Pete's. Damn it,
There you go. There you go.
Let's go. I'm feeling it.
Jenna, let's hear your best air horn. You have to give an air horn.
Air horn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was happy, but it was still better than ours.
I think Dev had the best air horn.
He did.
Dev?
He committed.
Well, Dev had the best everything. I mean, Dev's just a superstar for a reason.
Yeah,
Maybe
Dev's
Jenna will
the
be a superstar after this experience. I'm joined, of course, by Eric. You know him as D-Line Co.
Let's go!
Eric, you look like you are like John Elway's caddy.
If he'd have me, I'll do anything for John Elway. I'll do anything for the man. I'll caddy, I'll team. I don't know. What are you even talking about? I just put on clothes I was going to wear today.
You do look like John Elway's caddy.
It felt like a little cold in my apartment, in my core, but not in my extremities. So I just thought I'd wear something to fix that.
That's actually you look like a real Broncos fan.
Well, I'll have you know that I am a real Broncos fan.
That looks like
I think that's a good point, though, Eric, because a vest is the most useless article of clothing.
Strong disagree. Could not disagree with this take at all. It's the most useful. You only get cold when you go chest cavity.
It's not
you
the
don't get
most
cold on
useful.
the arms.
There's a lot of middle ground between the two polar ends of the spectrum.
Well,
I could very well get by with never having a vest ever in my entire life.
I'm with
It's
you.
fine.
And he's from Boulder.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Does it bother you does it bother you that this is not made by North Face? Is that the issue? But the thing is that this vest is more. I mean, obviously it's beautiful. I put it on because of its beauty, and I'm a beautiful person, so the two match, and so that's the utility.
The vest is way more beautiful than you.
Everyone's quiet and uncomfortable. All right, let's move on.
Also joined by
I don't know
Brendan
about that
Vogt.
orange, man.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Oh, wow, there he goes. That midday energy.
I'm
Harrison-
actually excited to be here, though. So
And filming from his bathroom, it's Harrison Wynn.
What's up, guys? I got that midday energy, too, I guess.
I think we all do. Or morning energy, if you will. And then from Denver Stiffs, it's Jena Garcia.
What's up?
Wow,
Nice.
that's definitely morning energy.
fiery intro.
First of all, I just woke up.
This is the least fiery I've ever seen Jena, actually. I'm guessing she'll be spicier as it goes on and the takes start flying.
I mean, I get pumped when I get to the Pepsi Center, you know? I get hyped going in.
Is that
A-plus
true?
sweatshirt, though. A-plus sweatshirt.
This was for Harrison. I wanted to wear my Chargers gear, but I didn't want to make all of Denver mad at me.
Your Chargers gear?
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
nobody would have gotten mad.
Like the Los Angeles Chargers? You own their gear?
San Diego. Only San Diego gear do I
And
own.
a gear that you're able to charge your phone off of, right? Like it has plugs and things coming out.
This is a momentous day. I'm fairly certain you're actually the first Chargers fan I've met in person.
It's true.
That's just not true. You guys have so many Californians in Denver. Like, that's just
And
impossible.
yet,
They're Raiders fans.
yeah. Honestly, I'm not just trolling you. I don't think I've met another one.
Yeah.
Literally,
It's
someone said
Jenna
that to me
and my
yesterday.
best friend from middle school. Two Chargers fans.
What's his
Is
name?
he-
Oh, wow,
Shout him
shouts.
out.
Do you remember
Yeah.
his name?
My guy Jonas.
Jonas.
Hey, I know
Jonas.
Jonas. I
Go
love
to
Yeah.
hell, you Charger fan loser.
Big Jonas guy. No, you know what though, Eric? There's some teams you can wear their gear. I feel like you can be a Nuggets fan and maybe you wear. Okay, this is a bad example, but like the Orlando Magic, you just don't care about them. If they had something cool, you'd be like, yeah, I'll rock with that or whatever. I feel like the Chargers are that way. They're not offensive enough, and their colors are actually really cool. I know
This
we
is
always
so
rag
offensive.
on the Broncos powder
Their
blues,
colors-
and it's the same, but
Yeah,
they make it work.
their color scheme is the Nuggets color scheme. They have powder blue, yellow, dark navy. That's
Those
what
new jerseys are sweet though.
The powder
Are they
blue
not?
LaDainian Tomlinson Chargers were legit.
Oh,
dope.
yeah.
That was a legit
They were
cool.
dope.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm with
How do you
that-
guys even think I became a Nuggets fan?
yeah, that's. I mean, but so
I've never thought about that.
that color scheme.
Wait,
works very
that's
well.
why? Because of the powder blue?
San Diego does not have a basketball team, right?
They also don't
And-
have a football team.
Yo, this is a good reason.
They did when I was there, and so I was a Chargers fan, but the closest teams were Utah, and I didn't like Utah, and the Nuggets had the same colors we had, so I was like, for sure the Nuggets.
You
Are
could have
you-
been a Pacers
And
fan,
the-
too. They
True.
now have the same colors as the Nuggets.
The Pacers are too far away.
True.
They don't have the powder blues. It's the powder blue is the connection.
Mm-hmm.
It's also like you're not allowed to root for an Indiana team unless you've lived there your whole life and have never left. It's
Yeah.
like a weird
You guys
cult.
saw these though, right?
Those are fire.
I know. I
Way to
really
go.
dig them.
Actually, let's go. Let's go to Eric on this.
So
Eric,
six, Eric,
Oh,
is
God.
6 uniforms too many?
for football, probably.
Yeah. Well, football it doesn't really go. I mean, the NBA has really pioneered, and I guess the MLB has pioneered the idea of there being 54 different uniforms
Right,
in every closet. On these, I mean, you know that I always appreciate cleanliness and classic design
And godliness.
cleanliness and godliness. Yeah, that's right. So I do like these. They are nice. They didn't go over the top with. There's not too much ornamentation. The one thing that I don't love is the number on the helmet, just because there's a lot going on.
But that's
like
too crowded. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little crowded. And I always thought the bolt. I mean, the curve of the bolt is just designed for the side of a helmet, so it like can stand with such power. And the other thing is like that the number on the side of a helmet is something you've seen throughout the history of football, but it never sticks around. It like always goes away. The only team that like has really held on to that is Alabama, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
And but so they have it's sort of like you have to decide either go number or design, but that's like a small quibble.
Strong disagree, man. I think it looks cool. I just like different, like in this way, and I guess it works too because it's the Chargers. I don't. To your point, there's certain teams that can never. The Cowboys can't do crazy or whatever, but
this isn't crazy. This isn't crazy at all. This is like very pared down.
Jena, as a longtime Los Angeles person yourself, what do you think of the new look? Is this true to Chargers? Is this sick?
Yeah, it's sick, but I am not a long-time Los Angeles person.
I know.
I cannot stand any of the LA teams. If I wanted to be an LA fan, I would have decided that when I was a kid. Because they had the Lakers right there.
So, do you like the Chargers less now? Did they bail on you?
Yeah. I mean, I think most people in San Diego feel like a little bit of resentment or whatever, but it's like it's still our team.
Yeah.
I don't know why they left. Like it was just so stupid.
It was all contracts.
They needed a new stadium, and then they moved into a soccer stadium.
Right.
What's up,
I mean, I know the
31584?
reasons why they left, you guys. I just mean, it doesn't make any sense for, to have another team in LA.
Yeah,
There's
for sure.
plenty of space in California, especially San Diego. It's kind of interesting to me, though, because, we're definitely baseball people in San Diego. It's just a baseball city. And so now that it was just baseball, it's kind of even though I don't want the Chargers to leave, and I never did, it makes sense to me in that sense.
The Chargers the Chargers never drew that well in San Diego.
Yeah.
They always had empty seats, and it's just one of those. And then when other NFL fan bases would troll them on that, they would always then default to the idea that we have other things going on, so
Yeah,
too many nice
but it's
things.
not that.
They just don't.
It's the proximity to Los Angeles, and even Los Angeles, man. I'm telling you, there's it's not that cool for the average person, but for the most richest and well-off people, it's really cool. And all the people it's not cool for project themselves onto those people.
It's the 99 1% thing times 1,000. It's so bad.
It's we got Hollywood and we got all the best.
Yeah,
you don't go to those
Matt
parties.
Damon is had a great weekend. I cried, but we live in the same city.
I'm sure the clubs are fun, but you're not allowed in.
Yeah, no, they turned me away. It was a $40 cover charge, but I got up to the door.
Exactly.
Everybody else is just eating in and out and going to a crowded beach every weekend.
Yeah,
That sounds good to me, though. I'll take that.
It actually is good. When I lived in LA, I was without a job for I don't know how many, 3 months or something. This was back 10, 15 years ago. But I went to the beach every day of those 3 months. Every single day I was at the beach where it was great. It was maybe the best 3 months of my life. Not even a little bit joking.
I've known you for much longer than 3 months. That hurts.
So we had Malone. We got to talk to Malone the other day, and we haven't talked about it on the show yet. In part because there was some news to come out of it, but not. It's your typical what's going on, nothing. What's the update?
It was your typical quarantine press conference.
Yeah. Run of the mill.
The old standard.
But it was really nice to see. Oh, look at that! Go Jena.
Hey,
The fans
what's up, draft me?
That was the most least enthusiastic. Yay! No, but it is good. It's weird, man. I felt really happy getting to see Malone, and he was in a good mood.
Yeah.
It just is one of those things where it almost felt normal for a day. Like it almost felt like, hey, we're back here, and Malone's, he's so good with the media and telling these stories when he's in that mood. Jenna, what was your takeaway from the whole thing?
Well, first off, I will say you were sucking up hard at the end of that press conference, Adam. Thank you, everybody. I mean, maybe you just miss people, but I was like, what a suck up, Adam. He's like,
who was I sucking up to? Who would I have sucked up to?
Chat.
Man, you guys have to understand. I'm going to tell you exactly what I said. This is crazy. In the chat, I just said, thanks so much for I said, it's like really good to see everybody. Because I hadn't talked to these people. You talked to them every day. I hadn't talked to them for like 2 months. I said, it's really good to see everybody, and just that, like it almost felt like a normal day back at the office, which was nice.
Like that
was what I said. That was a suck up. Not everybody has alternative. What is this?
So good to see you, Coach. So
good
glad
to see
you're
you guys.
healthy.
Wow,
Your
what a
family's
suck
healthy.
up! What a suck up! Jeez.
There were, I won't name names, but there were people on the call who were actually trying to suck up
No
during
doubt.
their questions, which was
no
pretty
doubt.
funny.
For sure. I definitely felt that way. I thought Malone was, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to sound like a suck up now, and I'm well aware of it.
I'm definitely going to.
He is the guy in the whole world. He's so nice.
What?
He's so sweet. He's so nice. He was just like so thoughtful about everybody, answering everybody's questions. He was like worried and concerned and made sure to say that about every single person. Harrison, I hope you're doing well. Like, what a nice guy.
He's a sentimental dude, I think. Some rough edges, but unfortunately, there have been multiple times. There was the shooting right before a game, and he sort of had to speak candidly on some more somber issues. And you can just really you see this really gruff, kind of tough guy soften up. Absolutely.
I also feel like this time is just going to make everybody just a nicer person. To be honest, we're just going to be nicer to each other. We're going to be nice.
That's a take.
We're going to be nicer to
I'm
strangers.
going to be meaner to people. I was nice to people yesterday, and it's gone horribly. I guess it was completely taken wrong. Last time I'm ever nice to anybody.
I'm definitely waiting for this to kick in from the three of you.
I am way too nice, apparently. I did not realize this, but I'm learning. So was there anything that was said, and I guess we can go over some of the details about it, the coaching stuff. Some of this stuff was like we either knew or was predictable, but they've all been working out via different apps and, communicating with the guys. Sounds like pretty regularly, trying to make sure that they're on top of whatever workouts and mentally prepared. He said that, even play calls, you don't think about this, but coaches always talk about when guys go away for the summer and they come back for training camp, they've forgotten plays and they've forgotten this and that. Well, we're basically it's been so long, it's almost been half an off season. So guys might have forgotten some plays.
And it's been a little even different than an off season, because during an off season, you can at least use the facility, and sometimes a couple guys from the roster are there. So it's even different than that.
You can send them links to what makes them play great, Adam.
Yeah, Adam, you as the playbook aficionado, is this the kind of thing you need to be kind of maintaining day to day, your knowledge of this playbook? Do you lose it in theory if you're not paying attention to it and you take 2 months off?
I think every guy is going to be different in this regard, right?
Sure.
There's some people that will remember the play from 8th grade, third quarter, whatever. Right. They're going to have that memory, and then there's some guys that I think have a really hard time learning it to begin with, as we've discussed this year. But and I also want to say that there is more I don't know about the Nuggets playbook than what I do know. So I don't want to overstate my level of familiarity with the Nuggets schemes or whatever. But yeah, I do think from my experience, just obviously in college, Jena could talk to this too. You go away from it for a while, and it comes back quick, but you probably do forget, oh, that's right, that's what this inbound play was. I forgot. Right. Or whatever. So
I tried to drive to the grocery store yesterday, and I was forgetting how to drive. So I'm sure these guys forgot.
I thought you were going to say your grocery list, but
no.
Right tools go.
I had that on my phone. That was weird. I haven't driven. I've driven 3 times, during this entire 6 weeks now. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Oh, it is true. I put gas in my car the other day, $8. And it was cheap, but it was just because I was only down 1/8 of a tank in the last 2 months. It was pretty wild.
That was my biggest takeaway from the presser too. Monte Morris even said it on Instagram, I think a couple days ago, that he feels like he stayed in pretty good basketball shape. He's been working out. He has a private gym that he has access to, but he has forgotten some of the play calls. Not the guy that I would pegged to have forgotten some of the play calls either. But I thought that was interesting, and I like how Malone organized a film session via Zoom just to see if these guys had remembered their play calls. I thought that was pretty funny.
But my impression, man, and I'm projecting here, but league wide, I don't think this is as I think in our heads we're hearing the teams are still in contact with the players. There's a plan in place. It seems to me like this is much looser, right, than they want it to kind of sound. These guys are not kind of all operating as a unit. Right,
Malone wasn't going to hop in the press conference and be like, I haven't heard from Jokic for 4 weeks.
Of course. I know. But it's our job to then, those are the words we got, but I'm interpreting it. I don't get the sense that, it's 15 guys on the same page right now or anything like that.
Not at all. And Malone,
what are the chances MPJ actually learned the plays?
Yeah, there it is.
This would be
pretty low.
This would be a great time for everybody to learn the playbook.
For real.
What else are we doing?
What's up, Nick? Can I call you Nick? I'm going to do it anyway.
If Monte's surprising to me. I would not have guessed he'd be a guy. Although I will say, I'm a Monte stan, man. I just think that guy's incredible. I think he's always on Instagram, posted those workouts, and look, that doesn't mean anything, but I would bet Monte comes back in the 99th percentile in terms of sharpness and ready to go. That's
so it's funny. Yeah, he said he has access to a private gym, and I was actually talking to Kenyon Martin about this yesterday and just saying how he's got a son right now who's getting ready for the draft, and I was asking him, is it tough for him to get ready for the draft when gyms aren't open and you might not have the access that you normally do? And he said that through his connections, obviously he has access to a private gym. And if NBA players are saying they don't have access to a gym like that, I feel like they're full of shit, right? They should be able to find a gym to work out at. No,
I don't think so. Look at Vlatko. Who does Vlatko even know here?
Yeah, that's true.
I have to think that the Nuggets should be able to find a gym that's open for guys to work out at. And if guys are saying, I haven't picked up a ball in a month and a half. That's just ridiculous. Do some ball handling drills. That's I don't think that's an excuse.
Yeah, play horse.
What happens if you live in an apartment?
Go outside. Go to a parking lot somewhere.
There are so many gyms that are closed right now and nobody's allowed to go in them, and schools and stuff. You would think that there would be something, but I don't know. But then again, if you don't control the gym, if you say okay, Denver East High School, it's closed, nobody's in it. But you don't know that nobody's in it, and so, I don't know. I'm just saying that a person can take that risk, but I don't know.
The team
the
can.
Nuggets themselves can be I hear nobody's in Denver East. We called the principal. He said you can do that. I don't think they can get away with that.
Aren't they allowed?
But maybe I'm wrong.
Aren't they allowed in the training facility one at a time?
No, not anymore. That was a thing for a week, and then they were this obviously can't happen.
But that's the thing that doesn't make any sense. If they can't go to their own personal training facility, why would they be able to go to another private gym? What's the difference between the Nuggets private gym and this other private gym?
Liability.
Right.
Liability, and then theoretically there only be 2 people, the player and the trainer, going in and out of the said gym.
What I saw players doing. I saw 5, 6 players out.
Ooh.
In one gym. I'm just saying.
Jenna brings these scoops.
Harrison saw what I saw.
Out and about, huh? I haven't been outside of my. I've gone to Denver one time to Andy Feinstein's to pick up some of the decorations you see back here.
Did you guys
stop by and say, "Hey, bro"? And put us both at risk? Come on.
Did you guys know that DNBA, that we opened a bar and Adam has never been to it?
I've been once. I want to go back so bad.
I know.
Literally, Kendra and I were going to go on St. Patty's Day. And we were
we literally all were. That was the whole idea.
Thank you,
though. Denver was going to come. It was going to be great. But
we're going to party in that bar. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, 4th of July. We're going to be doing fireworks right inside.
Well, Kendra and I had a plan. We had talked about it. We're not going to just go out for a couple of drinks. We were going to go hard.
Whoa.
We
talked about it. We had a backup plan too.
I can't wait for that. First person to pass out in the lounge upstairs. Just all right, vote had to be carried up to the lounge. There's going to be an episode of TDSP with him just laying there asleep on the floor.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Was there anything else that came out of this presser that was noteworthy? The presser with Malone.
Well, he said LeBron sucks and MJ's the GOAT. Did you guys hear that?
Yeah, I do remember him saying that.
He did not say that. To be clear, he said LeBron is arguably the greatest of all time. to be clear.
Also, we know this. Like Malone has a very deep love for LeBron. He talks very. I mean, and I think Malone knows which guys you can piss off when you can. But there's nothing that he's ever said or done that makes me think he feels anything other than complete and total affection for.
Dude, you
LeBron.
can't be on a staff or a team with LeBron and walk away not appreciating it, Like anyone who has, I think, really does get it. Like, oh, he walks the walk.
Yeah, for sure. And Malone, I don't blame him for this at all. But I don't blame Malone for this at all. But whenever he talks about LeBron, he's sure to say that he coached him for 5 years. I don't blame him for that. I would say that same thing too.
Yeah, that is funny.
Do you guys think people would say that about MJ?
Yes. No.
They coached him for 5 years?
No, the same thing Brendan said, that that anybody who worked with LeBron would walk off saying like how great, talking about how great he was, and that it was. You think people would say the same thing about MJ?
I think case in point being Steve Kerr, who was punched in the face by him and still sings his praises to this day.
Steve Kerr has his entire career maybe to owe to MJ.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's the same with Kobe, man. Like, of course, there's going to be the Kwame Browns and the Smush Parkers who hate him and will say all these bad stories, which are probably true. But like even Lamar Odom and Pau Gasol, those guys speak very, very positively.
Very
of
highly.
Kobe, and like Kobe wasn't easy on those guys either. So, as with anything, it's case by case, and especially the case with Kobe and with Michael, the people who don't like him and are open about not liking him. Usually everybody turns against him. Like nobody's a Smush Parker stan. Nobody's like, guys, Smush told us. See, the truth is over here with Smush. He doesn't have the clout for that.
Do we know what Smush's real first name is? Is his name Smush?
I don't think so. You know what's funny about Smush though? Here's my Smush take. Smush Parker is a New York playground legend. Like think about Smush, the name Smush Parker. At some point in time was one of the 400 best players ever. Came from this tough environment, grew up playing like literal street ball to the NBA. And he gets there and Kobe just ruins him, and now his name is a punchline. Imagine that, like just climbing to the top of your field, and then once you get there, you become the butt of every joke.
I can relate to that. I can absolutely relate to that.
All right. So nothing else from this press conference. I guess it wasn't that great. I want to talk about. I mean, it was great. There was nothing to be gained.
It's been like a lot of these press things during the quarantine. People just don't have a lot of answers
or questions.
Like, what do you think about a bubble scenario? Well, it sounds great, but like we have no idea what we're talking about here. So it's kind of tough.
Yeah, like when everything's on the table, in a sense, like nothing's really on a table. Yeah. It's hard to ask questions about it. Even.
Yeah, for sure. I'm fascinated by this KD versus Draymond stuff. Actually, before we move on, you could throw that link out on that I sent you out on just regular Twitter. Let's see if anybody wants to hop in. If anybody wants to hop in, we threw it. I believe we already threw it into the Discord. So if you're a DNBR member, you should already be able to hop on. If you have questions for Jena, shoot them our way. But the Draymond KD stuff is interesting because I keep talking about Ethan's book. It's fantastic. I think people should go read it. But a lot of it was about KD and how happy he was, and there was a lot in there about him hating Draymond. Well, Draymond gave a really interesting interview with Mark Stein, or actually it wasn't with Mark Stein. I'm sorry, it was with the what is it? All the Smoke podcast with Matt Barnes. Oh, okay. And he went on there and basically said, look, yeah, KD and I no longer are great. He said, I still love him. KD doesn't love me, but I'm not going to hold that against him. He goes, but if he wanted me traded, they would have traded me. And first of all, are we team Draymond here? I am 100% a Draymond guy.
Yeah,
I was a hater.
100%.
I was a hater.
100% team Draymond in this.
Team all the way.
Yeah,
what?
Team KD.
Oh, of course. Predictable.
Fine. Go ahead. Let me hear what you got. Let's go.
No, I want to hear what you got first. I want to hear the Team KD version of this argument.
I just think, we were just talking about this. MJ, Kobe, you guys named all these great players who you said, their teammates would walk off the court and, owe them, no matter what happened, getting punched in the face, no matter what, still owe them so much of their career and stuff like that. And it's like, KD gets no love. Nobody ever says that.
Because no one owes him anything.
Yeah.
No one ever says that about KD. I would say, you don't think Westbrook owes something to KD? And equally, right? Like back and forth. KD owes something to Westbrook too.
I mean, yeah, like they elevated each other. I think they both owe each other something.
What do they owe each other?
Elevated the game for the entire
a finals appearance.
Yeah.
But there's also a difference between Kevin Durant is really, really good. This is true. I'm getting flamed for this, but it's true. I'm going to keep doing it. We're not done. I'm going to
Adam's
our own publicity.
My favorite writer on like an insanely interesting topic. I'm going to keep plugging it. And I
hope he hears this, bro.
He will. He absolutely will.
You guys have distracted. No, but the thing is there's a lot of players that you could say, like Kevin Durant's an incredible basketball player. There's nobody denying that. But there's no KD stands. This is the thing that's crazy. Like, there's MJ stands, there's LeBron stands, there's Curry stands. There's no KD stands. Nobody, like, really, I mean, except for Jena, apparently. But there's, like, he's not a guy that has the charisma that people like. And that's sort of the point.
And you don't hear those stories. You don't hear the former coaches or former players with these incredible KD anecdotes about what an unstoppable teammate or leader or player he was. But everyone knows about his all-time talent level, which is undeniable. But I don't know. I don't think you hear that mutual respect, and I read into that absence.
You know how easily Nike come out with an ad campaign that says, if I could be KD, they could remake If I Could Be Like Mike, be really easy, but nobody does. Nobody wants to be KD.
Nobody wants to be
I just
KD
think it's because they get hate because they have attitude or whatever attitude. They're not the picture of what an NBA player should be. They're not Magic Johnson in front of the camera. Sure. And it's like, who cares? That's just not them. AI got some hate too, and it was like AI still transformed the game. I just think people hate on KD.
AI is not a good comp. AI got so much love. Sure, there was people, there's white America that didn't love him.
Yeah, there were racist.
Everybody else that loved him immensely.
To be clear, I loved him.
Iverson is like one of the most popular players ever.
My first ever KD. KD's an amazing player, but I feel like it's fitting that he went to team up with Kyrie, who's like similar to him in a lot of different aspects. Like shies away from leadership, is kind of like fake woke.
Fake woke is a big part of it.
They're amazing players. They're unbelievable basketball talents, but they're just like so similar in every other aspect of like their off-court kind of personality.
This is actually.
I don't know if we can be deciding who fake woke is. Like any of us should be.
Oh, we definitely.
I feel very Kyrie put him right there.
Yeah,
right, number one.
I think I could distinguish woke and fake woke.
If TJ was on the show, I would get your point.
Oh man,
just kidding, TJ.
No, KD, he just doesn't. He doesn't have the charisma, and I don't know, man.
But that's part of my point. My point is that I think people hold on to certain players, and you have to have more than just the talent. You also have to have the attitude, and you have to have the face for it. Like, people remember MJ because he's attractive. Like, whether you knew who MJ was or wasn't, you were a woman in that stadium, your eyes would have gone to him. Same thing with Steph. He's universally, like, most people find him attractive.
Really?
These are takes we don't normally get here.
Really?
Yeah,
light skin, light eyes.
I wouldn't have thought Curry.
I would say Steph has that, and he has the attitude. He has the like hyped up, positive, I don't know, bouncy guy, nice guy with his kids. But he's willing to fit that role, and like just because KD doesn't want to be that person doesn't mean that he's still not a great player.
Doesn't seem comfortable in his own skin. I think that's the number one thing that jumps out when people look at KD is that, I mean, there's a reason he has burner accounts, right? He's hiding who he is behind a mask.
He's actually quite comfortable in his skin, and everyone else in the world is not
strong disagree.
With who he is.
As someone who is very uncomfortable in his own skin, let me tell you, I see myself in Kevin Durant, which is insane that I see any of
It is funny though, like if you the pairing here that we're talking about, pitting KD versus Draymond. Draymond is pure charisma. He's like so interesting.
I know. It's such a funny.
So deep, like he's not skilled like KD. KD is supreme skill, but bad personality. Draymond, super interesting personality, but like just
and we just like expect more out of our star athletes now than we did 10, 20 years ago. That's another thing too. Like if Kevin Durant was rising to power in Jordan's era, he would just be looked at for what he did between the lines.
Maybe. Let's bring on. I'm going to bring on my buddy Bram. Bram, What's
Yo,
happening, man?
How's it going?
What's up, Bram?
Look at this.
So Bram actually covered the Warriors for many years, including during the Kevin Durant era. So this is a good guest to come on. KD,
I just want to
lovable
also
or unlovable.
lovable or unlovable.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, with it's weird that it's even complicated because, like, you know, dating back to is it Steph's team? Is it his team? You know, Steph. Even if Steph ever went to like whatever any other team, I would love him forever. I think with Durant, it's just. I mean, Warriors fans are very, very, very easy to please. I mean, we had nothing for so long. Warriors fans still love Andres Biedrins, like deeply and forever. You know, they still love Monte Ellis. Like we have all these players who Jay Rich, like all these guys are just forever Warriors, like no matter whatever else happened. And I think Durant is the rare person who you're going to get like very deeply conflicted thoughts.
Right.
And it's either like all the one way or all the other. I think I'm one of the rare people where I'm like, I really enjoyed watching Durant play, and I think he's one of the all-time great players. I also wish he had never joined the Warriors. You know,
Yeah.
So as like a lifelong Warriors fan, I know like Adam and I have talked about this behind the scenes, but I wish they had just run it back, you know, with that 2015 team, and just I think they still would have won the same amount of titles in some capacity. You know, I think Durant like brought a lot to the table, but they also had to give up a lot as well, and they in the end like ended up becoming ISO heavy sometimes, or there's you know Steph was like not ISO heavy, but like trying to like make Durant happy. You could just tell for forever that they were trying to satisfy Durant's ego and his like need to not only touch the ball but also control the narrative. And unfortunately, like that team before, like nobody really cared. I mean, it was obviously Steph's team, but nobody cared about trying to control the narrative or what the media was saying, and you know, and part of that is that they were so young and that they didn't know any better.
But I want to take that part because controlling the narrative to me is actually the defining trait of KD, and in a lot of ways, it's one of the pillars of the book that I keep referencing. Because these players these days, I'm serious. These players these days, this is what they want: is they really want to control their own narrative. They want to tell their own story through their voice. Like, oh, we don't need the media anymore. By the way, when they say the media, they're talking about us. They're also talking about all of you guys. They're talking about social media. They're talking about everybody that comments in any capacity.
Right.
And that's why it's so funny when fans are like, yeah, screw you guys. Like, no.
It's
Talking about your dumb tweet that went viral and everybody's commenting.
Yeah, they're almost not talking about us at all. It's like not us at all.
They don't think about us. Yeah.
They don't think about us.
We are not the media to them.
Except for KD, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But that's the
pretty
thing is
clearly
they
does.
want to control the messaging so much. And look, number one, this is 2020. Nobody can control the messaging. You know,
You don't think LeBron controls the messaging around what
of
gets
course,
out?
He can. Yeah, I agree with
of
that.
course, but I mean, he's the one guy that has his like tentacles in every single aspect of.
He also
world,
runs a
really,
media
certainly
company.
the NBA.
You know what I mean?
And like
Yeah.
owns an
But this is what-
agency.
but-
Right.
So does
But
Kevin Durant.
And that's what I'm saying.
that's
These
right,
guys
yeah.
are trying to do this now, but again, it seems to make them less happy. And again, it's one of those things where I think with Kobe, people forget he was loved because Lakers fans are everywhere, but he was hated by a lot of people for a long time. And I think what broke through was several years of him just being like aggressively himself. Like he was just like, you know what, I'm not changing. And then over time, people were like, you know what, I hated him, but I love to hate him. And I think with KD, he just wants everyone to love him every single second and understand him and to control that. And it's like, guys, it never
But
works.
the thing is too, like if you were to ask him, I'm sure he would like vehemently deny that and say like he's just himself and he's not going to change and he's just
Right.
doing whatever. But his actions don't bear that out.
Exactly.
Whereas with
course.
Kobe, like he really, I don't. What's the swearing thing on this, by the way?
Then you can whatever you want.
Let it rip.
Okay. I mean, I'm not gonna like let it rip, but I mean, Kobe just really didn't give a shit what you thought, you know, obviously,
Yeah.
and like Durant obviously does. So it's one thing to be like, well, I don't care what people say, and I'm just gonna be me, and I'm just gonna go play ball, and the only thing that's important is basketball, and none of this makes any difference to me. But then it's like, yo, you just got actively like called out multiple times, not just like once, for like trying to change the narrative internally through burner accounts and shit like that, where it's like, what are you doing, dude? Like, if you
Just
really
watched
care,
you do that. Yeah.
yeah, like if you really only care about basketball, like just go fucking play basketball. Like it's not that hard. And I think as a Warriors fan, like that's the thing that always got on people's nerves is that like Steph is obviously always controlling the narrative as much as he can. Like his wife has a reality cooking show, and like, you know, they're very public, very active people who are a part of our modern society in a way that like makes sense, but it feels like it's true to who he actually is. Where like he grew up in the limelight, his father was a professional athlete, he grew up with money, you know, he's obviously like not coming from nothing, he's coming from an affluent, you know, sort of upbringing, and he's bringing his kids up in the limelight, and he's like, you know, using them, and you know, whatever. Like his kids are part of his story, but it doesn't feel contrived. It just feels like what they would be doing naturally anyways, and what they are doing, and they're just like taking advantage of the opportunities presented to them and using that as leverage to make more money and to build their brand and to put Aisha in the limelight, you know. And with Durant, it always feels like it feels more contrived, and it feels like something that they're working really hard at. And you know, as Americans, we feel like, or as people, and just like watching people, I think that anytime you see somebody trying too hard, you just want to be like, dude, what are you doing? Like, just be you, you know?
Bullshit. It's such bullshit because it's a double standard. Every single one of you cares what other people think and what other people tweet about.
Sure.
Yeah, you know what? Like, it's so relatable for him to just be honest and be like, yeah, he said to us, like, he doesn't care. And he said it to the whole world. But it's like, that's relatable because you wouldn't say to everybody, like, tell everybody, yeah, that's actually a weakness of mine. So what? He's real. He like struggles with something, and he handled a situation poorly. There's been millions of guys who handle the situation poorly. There's been tons of guys.
Sure.
And I'm also not saying that it's not relatable. And I also really, I really dig Durant. Again, I'm not like one way or the other. I'm just kind of like saying how some people in the community have felt in the past.
Yeah. And the thing about Durant is that he's just like not comfortable in his skin. Clearly,
right.
He's grew up.
But how can you guys say that about him?
But he came into the league in
because his actions.
One way. He was one person, and then he became a completely different person as went on. So one of those people were false, and so.
But see, that's not necessarily true because people come into who they are like different times in life, right? Like my sister just moved to Oakland, and we grew up super strict. We weren't allowed to cut our hair. We weren't allowed to dye our hair. Like dresses past your knees. Like I wasn't even allowed to wear pants for a certain part of time because that's what boys wore and girls didn't wear pants. Crazy stuff. And she like now has like 12 piercings and wears all black stuff, and half her hair is black and half her hair is red. And she's like, finally, I am who I am. But she finally feels like she is who she is. And you don't know KD's
But here's the thing, though, is you can't always have your cake and eat it, too. And I think that's part of it with KD is that he doesn't understand that, look, yeah, you can be this, like, you can't make yourself into a deity and then say that you're...
He was making a good point. That's the worst part.
We've lost you, Adam.
No, he's gone.
We can't hear you, Adam.
I think Adam spelled a White Claw on his microphone. So, Bram, I have a question for you.
Adam.
Who do you like? Who do you think the Broncos will take at 15? Are we looking at Ruggs or?
I don't know. How's the O-line? Are they going to be able to protect Locke? That's my only question.
Yeah, I guess we're going to find out.
Bram, we had a question from the chat because you're a Bay Area guy. How does Kevin Durant compare to Bonds as a personality?
Whoo! Kind of similarly, actually. Yeah, that's a great question. I think that it's, the biggest difference, and also like looking backwards, is just that KD really wasn't there for that long, you know, and it always kind of felt like he was passing through. Whereas Bonds, like he was in it for the long haul, and they never ended up winning anything with him. But it was also like he was there for I don't know 12 years or whatever it was. I mean, I grew up with Barry Bonds, so. But even back then too, like I was way more of a Jeff Kent guy, you know, like I who was the second baseman for, if you don't remember him, he was like a utility player or I was like even way more of like a JT Snow guy, you know,
or
Will
like Clark guy.
Will Clark.
Rich Aurelia guy.
I think that was actually one of the first games that I think I was at the Will Clark game, maybe, I don't know, whatever. Anyways, but I mean they compared to each other in very similar ways, except for the fact that Durant won and Bonds never won anything. They made it to that World Series against the Angels, but they lost, which was that famous thing where Dusty Baker came out and gave the game ball to the pitcher who I can't remember who it was, and then they ended up losing in Game 6 and lost Game 7 or whatever. But
Benito Santiago?
Yeah, I think so.
Was it?
I don't know. Santiago was the catcher? I don't know. My baseball is not. This is all just like random memories.
I just named a Giants player that I know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was the backup catcher on the.
I think he was.
Oh man, I mean, whatever. That's a whole other story. But I mean, as far as like weird sort of mercurial personalities, they definitely match up in that same way. It's a great question. It's something I've never thought about, but it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, maybe Bonds feels like the Curry of San Francisco just because he was so long.
He was polarizing.
Right.
Our baseball expert here.
Yeah, he wasn't.
Yeah, I know, Drew. I just
told him.
named a giant. It's the first giant that came to my mind.
But they were both people who, I mean, even while they were here, were polarizing. I was also a huge Rich Aurelio guy. I got his autograph. I used to like go to the games and then hang out and like wait for them to leave and try to get the autographs and everything. But yeah, I mean, we've had some strange, like really players who don't make it easy to root for them, and that was the same thing with Bonds. Like while he was on the Giants, there's a whole subsection of people who were like, he's really hard to root for. Yeah, that's actually a good point. Bumgarner is much closer. Actually, Posey is much more like the Curry. Like Bumgarner is more of his own person. Bumgarner's a lot more like Clay, actually, where they just obviously don't give a fuck. And
Man,
they just
Clay is the most universally loved guy, though. But he's done a good job of just staying away from everything. Like, you want to talk about like not getting to know a guy and projecting things on. That's Clay. He's just he's off the radar enough that you're like
his silence on all of this is like speaks volumes.
Yeah, that is a guy that's comfortable in his skin. Clay.
But he's silent on everything. And that's the crazy thing about Clay is that like he's out there just basically like dating everyone for years, and none of that ever gets out. It's just like, Clay likes Instagram models, and the only thing that people would talk about with Clay is like he has a really cool dog. And it's like if Durant was
doing it right.
If Durant was doing that same thing, all we would talk about is who he's dating, But because it's Clay, and because for whatever reason he gets a pass, they're just like, oh, his dog is so cute. It's like, do you know what this dude is actually like? He's in everybody's DMs. He's like
the reason is that he doesn't give a shit what we think, and we can see that projects.
That's true. I don't think that's true.
I think 95% of players probably really care what their public perception is, but it's obvious Clay doesn't.
But honestly, to me though, that's the thing. So many of these players are under these same pressures and influences, but we're only having this conversation about Kevin Durant. So regardless of how relatable it is,
players we should have this conversation about.
No,
but nobody
not this.
does.
No, not this conversation. No, because Kevin has made a mess of this and has made it very public, and it's at the center of everyone's.
I'm going to say one name right now, and you tell me this person hasn't made a mess of things. Jamal Murray.
Not even close. Not even close.
But he's in. But here's the thing.
He's not as famous. He's not
completely different.
No. Yeah. Well, Bram's right. He's not as famous, but I do think that you're right about this.
He cares what people think.
100%. I am 100% on board with this take actually about Jamal. I do think it's a look. If he was in a bigger market, I think people would talk about it a lot more.
And Adam, that's what I was going to say too. Is I don't want to be like the guy who's like, oh well, it's Denver, and I love Denver. It's like my favorite city in the middle of the country, obviously. But like, it's one thing.
That last little qualifier
make it feel better.
It's like my seventh favorite city.
That was like the fake
New York
friend of Texas.
Well, the coolest, and I've been to every, as Adam knows, it's a long story. We won't get into it. I've been to every city pretty much when I was touring as a musician for years, right? So my favorite cities in pretty much order: New Orleans, New York, and then honestly, like Denver's right up there. Like Denver is a very, very cool city. And so, like I said, it's my favorite city in the middle of the country. And by middle, I mean like anywhere like.
Yeah, we're the flyest flyover. Right?
Your airport is psychedelic as shit, man. I'll say
you mean we're better than Oklahoma?
There are underground tunnels.
There's underground tunnels. There's a whole Illuminati thing.
Don't do psychedelics. There is something I recommend.
Anyways, but no, I mean, if Jamal Murray was a better basketball player and B, more famous, and C, didn't play in a small market, like that would have been a much bigger story.
And D forced his way to a 73-win team to win some titles, and then bitch the whole time, and then say, "Oh, I don't care what people think about me," but then get mad when people comment.
But I think this is a fair thing.
They wanted him there as much as he did.
Oh yeah, they recruited him. I mean,
sure,
of course.
I get it, guys. I get it. But the idea that Kevin Durant is not the only player in the league who cares what other people think, but he is the only player in the league who has made this situation a thing. Yeah, and that's just it's not. You know what I mean? Until other people do, but it's a him.
I will say, I think more people would botch this situation and be a Kevin Durant than we realize.
Myself
it's just
included.
That they're no, but I'm saying even stars like LeBron. Right. Even LeBron's botched a lot of these, especially early on in his career, right? I mean, he went through a real PR hit in the middle portion of his career.
I mean, the decision. We all forget how much everybody hated the decision.
The decision was a very KD-esque moment,
but
right?
We're able to forget it because LeBron didn't make burner accounts and make shoes with the tweets of 14-year-old haters on the bottom.
I would also argue that this is only something that like a very, very, very small subset of the world in as a whole gives a shit about, and we
Right,
just
right.
happen to be in that bubble. Like
of
we are
course,
on
yeah, no doubt
NBA
about it.
Twitter, we're
Of course.
following all this stuff.
Nope.
Oh, he was on fire too.
He was on
Yeah.
fire there. He was about to go off.
Mid-
No, but I want to move it back to what
he's
Jenna
back.
was saying, though,
Am
because
I-
I think.
oh, did I leave?
Well, you just froze for a second. Because I do think that is one thing with Jamal, is I do think that he really desperately wants to be one of the most popular players in the league. I think he wants to be great, too. Like, he's very motivated, in my opinion. I think he plays hard or whatever. But I think he also really wants to be that guy. I think he wants to be... Right now, I think maybe he would
He
regret
wants
this
to be
if it
Steph
actually showed
Curry.
up.
Jamal
But
Murray
he
wants
also-
to be Steph Curry.
He wants to be Steph Curry, but he wants to be talked about in every capacity, not just as a, like, here in Denver. He wants to be talked about as this, like, social figure and everything else. That's my read on him, at least. Do you feel that way, Jenna? He wants
Yeah,
the
I
fame.
do. And I think that there's nothing wrong with that.
Not at
There's
all.
nothing-
Not at
There's
all.
nothing wrong with saying that, and there's nothing wrong with being like, you know what, I messed up. Like, I feel like we're in a society nowadays where we can talk about anxiety, stress, like things that mess with us. Like, why can't players also come up and just be like, you know what, I messed up.
I wish
Like,
he
did.
would. I wish he. Yeah, I wish.
Yeah,
players
Durant
would.
could say
Yeah,
that.
he would go a long
could.
way for me if he would, instead of blaming everyone else for his decisions.
Also,
Yeah.
again, Durant doesn't give a shit about what we think. I mean,
I
I
think
think
he
he
does.
does. That's the
I
whole
think he
conversation.
does.
But he,
Yeah,
Oh,
but,
yeah.
that's what
but
makes
again,
him
like
different.
that's what I'm talking about. The little tiny bubble is that in the long term, what he really cares about probably is like being respected overall for the breadth of his work and selling gear and selling shoes and getting paid a shit ton of money, right? So like if the tiny element of basketball Twitter gets mad at him, I don't think in the long run it's something that like he should or that deeply care. I don't know. I mean, just the fact that we've been talking about it for forever is interesting to me.
Life's not perfect, and when you get rich and famous enough, you think you can make it perfect, and that's
Right.
the hubris that I think everybody gets annoyed with. It's
But
just-
I'm
there's
grateful
certain
for
things
it. I'm grateful for this dialogue. Like Jenna is right that about the macro scale points of this being a far more relatable and conceivable, and frankly, like I'm surprised we don't see versions of it more often. So it is like
It's not
I'm glad there
relatable the
was a
ways
Kevin.
he
Durant.
wants it to be, though.
Well, and
Yeah,
one
yeah.
of
It's
the
just he was
one of the things
relatable
I
in
was
a cooler way.
Exactly.
yeah one of the things I was going to say before I got cut off is just that like the only reason why it's such a big deal is because there's no one else like Kevin Durant. Like that's the point is that
Yeah.
he's so good
Yeah.
and he's so
Right.
famous that this just gets like if Jordan was the same way, it would be the same thing. Like he's that
Yeah.
caliber almost
know
of
what?
player.
Maybe he's just the first, though, because I do wonder. He's the youngest superstar, right? I mean, like Giannis is now coming up behind him, but LeBron, all these guys didn't grow up with social media the way that KD did, and now like the Zions of the world and this next generation. I mean, it was part of them when they were in the crib. So I don't think he's going to be the last guy to sort of have run into these situations. But Bram, thanks so much for joining us, dude. We have to. I'm going to bring
awesome.
on another.
Yeah, that was
guest. We're
good,
gonna
dude.
play
Thanks
a
for
game.
having
me. Thank you.
Great stuff. Take care.
Also, what a killer
All right,
background.
we're bringing
I
on
know.
Darwin again.
Yeah.
Darwin.
Hey,
What up, guys?
Survival.
Yeah, back. Oh, your internet's gonna suck.
Oh, it is?
There you
No,
go.
you're good,
All right.
you're good.
Yeah.
So yesterday, you didn't get a chance to play the steps, but today
Oh,
it looks like you're gonna be our contestant. Are you up for this?
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
Oh hell yeah, dude! Darwin's ready.
Well, I want you to know the last
Darwin
two
Duck.
people to
Oh, he
try
knows.
this have gone out in humiliating fashion.
Well, yeah, I mean, I watched
Humiliating.
yesterday. That was rough. That's not
Is this the
that
game
That
was
was really brutal.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't feel
Did you
good
know
about
the
that.
answer? Did you know the answer, Darwin?
No.
Oh boy, just
was a
raise
tough
mistakes, by the way.
Question.
If you
was a
answer
tough
one of the
one.
first two questions
Oh,
wrong,
man.
you not only get booted from the show, we have to block you from all of our social.
He did mess up by not going to Jeff though. You gotta go to Jeff.
I know.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, that is true. Well, great news, Darwin. Today you have help from Jenna. Jenna can help you on any questions. And bad news, she has never watched the show and has no idea what this is.
So you should be fine.
And I
Jenna's
a
asked,
real
loves the
homie.
Chargers.
A real
I
homie.
asked what it was, and you guys wouldn't tell me. Also, so
We can't.
I
We
love
con-
you guys.
contractually can't. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Uh-huh.
What do you want
Yeah.
from us?
With that buff hoodie, I'm
All
not
right,
sure
so-
how much help you're going to be either. So.
So here's
Darwin,
how it
we're
works,
about to
is,
kick you off this thing.
Oh,
There's a
come
ladder of
on.
questions,
Eli, back me
and
up
if-
here. We gotta get some cocoa up there.
Absolutely. I've got your back always, Darwin.
Thank you. Thanks, Eli.
All right, let's get this thing started here. Question number 1.
Oh boy. Whew.
Hold on a second.
I don't know if I'm ready for this midday stress. Oh boy.
Yeah, man. This is
should I get a
lot
cup of coffee before we play?
No. 11 minutes, though.
Well, I guess you could. These first ones are pretty easy. I'm not going to lie. All right,
I don't know.
number
Based on
one.
yesterday's.
Yeah, dude. What are you
say that.
talking about?
You said
What is the name of the mascot for the Denver Nuggets?
Rocky.
He knew that one. He was
Final
confident.
He
answer.
knew that one.
Lock it in.
Is
Number
that
two.
your final answer?
Is that your final
Wait,
answer?
if you get it wrong,
this
do you
one-
get to go on?
No, you're done.
Yeah,
You're
if
off
you
the
get it
show.
wrong,
you
you
get
are
kicked right the F out.
You're banished to
You get
limbo.
kicked right the F out. Including
Shadow
the
realm.
two-way players.
Shadow.
Including the two-way players. Who is the youngest player on the Denver Nuggets roster?
It's gotta be Bull, right?
one's mildly
Jenna, does
tough.
that sound right?
That does sound right.
Okay.
But I feel
so
like
Bull.
it's a trick question. Because Adam's acting.
Don't do this. Have you watched the last 2 episodes?
You watched the last episode, so you should know.
I'm sorry. So
He's gonna
PJ
start making faces.
is also 2A. No, it's Bull. Final answer.
You are correct.
Correct.
Wow.
PJ Dozier is actually older than you would think. He's been in the
Yeah,
league for
I
like
was
3
gonna
years.
Yeah,
say-
he's been like bouncing
I was
around.
going to say, you better keep your composure on this and throw
But
a wrench
Michael
in it.
just had a birthday, too.
Number 3. Where did Michael Porter Jr. attend college?
Missouri. Mizzou.
That is correct.
Unbelievable. Cruising through with such hubris.
Cruising through. Now
He,
he's got his footing.
He did his senior year of high school like 20 miles away from here, 15 miles away from
All
here.
right,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Played,
You don't have
played
to-
for Brandon Roy.
It doesn't have to turn into a brag session.
Yeah, yeah.
What else did I do?
What city did Tim Conley grow up in?
Baltimore. Does that sound right, Jenna?
Yes.
Okay, Baltimore.
Boom!
Oh,
Rolling
Well
through.
All
Rolling
right, this
through.
one's for a sticker pack.
This is the
though.
sticker
This
question.
Is big. This is a sticker
the
pack.
sticky question.
I
Okay.
need more of these stickers.
Which former Nuggets player had the nickname Rooster?
Oh, Gallo. Final answer.
He got it.
Wow.
Have a
All
sticker
right.
pack?
So you got a sticker pack now. So now you know the deal here. Do you want to keep going or do you want to get your sticker pack?
If I just took it, I'd be like the first person to just
Yeah.
bail out of the
You
It's-
would
sticker
also
pack.
be the first person to get anything from this game.
Yeah,
So.
it's your right, but we will destroy you. Yeah.
We
Okay,
would
let's-
make fun of you nonstop.
That's fair. Let's keep going.
All right, yeah.
All right, let's keep
I
going.
like
Bullied
it. All
into it.
right,
I
here
like
we go. Number 6. Oh, this is kind of a tough one. Oh no. Jena, you can't Google. He cannot Google. That's a rule. Which current Nuggets player wears the number 9?
This is a tough one.
Oh, is that what Plum Dog changed his number to? I'm not Googling. My screen locks. So that's what
Sure.
Oh,
Convenient.
Yeah.
Convenient.
Jena, do you not pay attention to people's numbers?
So what band,
I
though?
do. I know it's not Plum Dog. I'm telling him no, it's not Plum Dog.
I'm saying. It's not Plum
Okay.
Dog?
Can you do a process of elimination?
I don't think it's Plum Dog. Is it Plum Dog?
Well, so he was 24, but he changed.
Yeah.
And I thought he changed to like a single
No,
digit.
it's not. It's not.
It's not
It is
Plum
a
Dog?
single digit one, but yeah.
Oh.
So,
I think it's Jeremy Grant.
yeah, that's... Oh, yeah, I buy that. Let's go Jerry
And-
Grant.
No, I don't pay attention to jersey numbers.
Me either. I'm with you, Jenna. I don't care.
Oh, apparently you do.
Beastin 25. That's your warning. No hints in the comment section.
Come on, Beaston.
Come on.
What did he say?
You gave the
The
answer.
answer.
I don't
Oh, look,
see it.
yeah. Well, there. I just changed it so guests
Nice.
can't see you.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. All right.
I can't
I
see
can
either.
it.
Uh,
Lame.
What year did the Denver Nuggets debut the powder blue color scheme?
Oh my god.
So that'd be okay.
That would be. I can't help you on this one. No.
Yeah, so 3. This was now.
Very good.
Oh,
Dude, he's like,
Wow.
ain't no thing.
We're
Locked
locked in
in.
right now.
Very
Unbelievable.
locked in.
Darwin Duck going for the shoot.
Unbelievable.
Number 8. Where did Monte
Quack,
Morris
quack,
attend
quack.
college?
Iowa State.
Man,
Come
he is
on.
cruising. Some of these are too
go.
easy.
I'm
you wanna
hyped.
Too easy.
Okay, our
What
boss
is-
does not want us to give the shirt away, so blow this
Yeah, we
one, Darwin.
we
okay?
literally have to pay for these ourselves.
Darwin
so-
could be a hero here. Darwin could be a hero here. What is the name of the town in Serbia that Nikola Jokic calls home?
Sombor. Man, come on. What is this?
What?
Yeah, dude. Where's the hardball? Where's the hard slurve off the corner?
I was about to just get the fresh sheet of questions, sir.
Are you
God.
you've tempted fate here, Darwin? This
Oh,
is
no.
for a
Oh,
shirt.
no.
This is
Alex
for a
English.
shirt.
Try Alex English.
Oh. Only 2 players have played over 800 games in a Denver Nuggets uniform. Name both players.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Only
Okay.
2 players.
So English would be one. Would it be like Issel? In a Denver, so this is not, ABA doesn't count. Like a Rockets uniform does not count.
That counts.
Okay. So yeah,
Oh.
Issel in English? Does that seem right, Jenna?
I have no idea.
Is that you gotta give me your guess, Darwin. I got my
Yeah, let's-
finger.
Go with it.
Yeah, let's say Issel in English.
Wow!
said
Our
it
first
couldn't be
ever
done.
T-shirt
Wow.
winner.
Hang on, though.
Darwin,
Hold
Incredible.
on.
Hang on.
Nothing set. Nothing set.
There's
in stone.
more.
Well,
Darwin?
first person to get to 10. Now, Darwin, a T-shirt
Yeah.
is nice.
It is
Sure.
nice.
Honestly, a nice T-shirt
But is it
all
forever?
better if I-
Is a
if I
T-shirt
could say
forever?
I'm biased.
I've got a couple.
Yeah, same.
But if you get 5 more questions right, you can win a lifetime subscription to DNVR.
So
Oh my god. Are we allowed to give that out?
I,
I don't think we checked.
What does the crowd want? What does the audience want? Do you guys
We
want
don't know.
to see him?
We should get in the chat.
So I sold my soul when I moved out to the coast, and I used some of those ill-gotten gains. I'm already a lifetime member.
Oh, hell yeah.
My guy. My guy.
Much
Take that
love.
shirt.
My guy.
What's left?
Are we
For a
doing? So,
prize.
So like, could I give this to somebody, or like,
sure.
What?
yeah, well let's
Sure.
let's keep it rolling.
Oh my
yeah.
goodness! What a
Let's go.
what a homie! Let's go.
The W in Darwin is capitalized. Just so everyone knows.
Wow.
We're gonna elect Darwin to the DNVR Hall of Fame next year.
Unbelievable. Goatee.
Incredible.
Put
He's
me on the
now
ballot.
playing for a goatee.
All right. In 2018, the Denver Nuggets rebranded around 4 new colors: Sunshine Yellow, Flatirons Red, Midnight Blue, and this slightly lighter shade of blue.
I see this all the time. What is it called? I can give you the number color codes for Photoshop because that's like when you're making
Oh,
on
yeah.
Photoshop, you're always using the color codes. No.
I
What is the name of
I
it?
would love a car. I remember you had
Yes, we
D-Line
had
on Locked On to talk about this. But
Yeah, with me.
Flatirons Red is the one that stuck with me the most, just because it's the most easily mockable.
Oh, I
What's
think
funny
Skyline
to me
Blue.
is that the
Oh, Skyline Blue? I'd buy
I
that.
think it is
Yeah.
Skyline Blue.
I think Jenna's out here cheating, trying to.
Yeah, she has the look of a.
You would. You did
Wow.
it in Photoshop with it every day.
Totally.
This makes sense.
I'm using it on Photoshop every day.
Yeah.
David Thompson scored a career high against the Detroit Pistons on the final game of the 1978 season. How many points did he score?
Over 70. 70, was it like 73? Yeah, it's not 78. Jenna, any thoughts?
Long before I was alive. Long
Same,
before I
same.
was alive.
You gotta get the one answer out of Jenna. She gave you Grant. Now the rest of you're on your own from this point on.
I mean, it was pretty clutch. So I got you through.
It was. Let's say 73. I think it's 73.
My goodness,
Oh
guys.
my
I'm
God.
starting to get
Darwin.
nervous.
Quack.
I'm starting to get
Darwin
nervous.
I'm
does.
nervous.
But
I
have way
can't believe
too-
it. I do not want to give these away. So what number are we on? What number was that?
13?
That was 13, right? No,
Oh,
that was
yeah.
12.
No, that was 12. This is
He's
not
got
13.
three
yeah,
more.
This is 13. So I did this on the wrong one. All right, now we're on 13. Okay.
Wasting most of my life on Nuggets Reddit and Stiffs over the last decade plus
This is
paying off.
This is your Slumdog Millionaire moment. Your entire life has led you to this moment.
Number 13. Who was the head coach of the 2003 Denver Nuggets?
Oh, this is pre-Bizdelic. Wait, no. So Carl was 04. It was Jeff Bizdelic. Yeah, final answer.
Dude, goodness
gracious! I'm up on my
Darwin.
He was almost at it too, and now he's rolling.
When I was real little, basketball was my favorite sport. And, like Mutombo was my favorite player, and then I was a big Sonics fan with Kemp and Gary Payton. Became a Nuggets fan again in 03. So like that era, I'm on it.
I gotta say, since Darwin doesn't want the lifetime membership, if he gets to number 15, he gets to take my place on this show daily.
Yes.
Darwin,
that would be a mammoth upgrade.
Wins like Google. Google it.
Okay. Number 14. What is Dikembe Mutombo's full name?
Oh my god.
Can I say that? Any ideas, Jenna?
No, I'm really bad at pronouncing names, so even if I knew it, I wouldn't know how to say it.
That's probably maybe true. Everybody grew up in Denver.
Totally
this was a thing you at one point in time at least knew.
Right after, man, I tempted fate I think one too many times, but I just said he was my favorite player when I was like 5.
No 5-year-old has ever pronounced his full name, if it makes you feel better.
Unless you apparently grew up in Denver and you must have known it and gone to the Renaissance Festival.
Yeah. Things every child in Colorado does.
No. That's why people think we're like cowboys out here and stuff.
No, people think we're cowboys because when there's Broncos game, like Broncos cheerleaders dress like from that era. Yeah,
and a huge majority of the state are cowboys that just don't live in Denver.
And it's a real
like
thing.
they're just talking around Darwin's like clutch moment.
All right, we gotta put a time limit on this here.
Why?
In lieu of an actual answer, because I don't have one, I want to tell a story. My dad like floats his brush with Denver sports. He's in an airport. He was in DIA in like early 90s and saw Dikembe walking through the airport following Scott Hastings calling out, Scott!
That's awesome.
That's a story I would tell.
I don't know Deke's full name, but I'm going to take an L on that.
Darwin, so close.
Good run.
He had it all. He threw it away.
Mutombo, Mupalando, Mukamba, Jean-Jacques Mutombo.
Not gonna lie, I wouldn't have gotten that.
Even if you've seen it before, how would you remember it in that order?
Jen, I've heard
You
that
can
name.
ask me next time we're at Pepsi Center. Ask me to recite it, and I will get it off the top
Jenna,
of the
I have
dome.
heard that name 5,000 times, and I couldn't give you the second name in the
Me
string
either.
of names.
Yeah. If Darwin had gotten that, I think he could have taken my job.
I would have been a little
Absolutely.
weirded out.
How many
Absolutely.
syllables are in that middle
All
name
of them.
part?
All the
32,
syllables.
actually.
Mupalando, Mukamba, Jean-Jacques.
Jean-Jacques, that's the easy one. That's
That's
good
the
name.
easy one.
Everybody knows that one. Yeah.
But you know what, guys? You learn something new every day, and today I learned that Darwin is a real one.
Dude,
Shout out.
Darwin is a
Yeah.
real one, man. A little faint applause for him. He
Dude.
had the guts to
Hey.
go past the teacher.
Darwin.
Yeah, really, really good job.
You guys should really
Um,
quack him in whenever he comes. on the
Darwin
show.
Duck, baby. I don't know if he
Quack,
likes that,
quack,
but I'm going to
quack,
push
quack.
it.
Mighty Duck
What-
style.
Jenna, thank you so much for coming on. I hope you had fun.
Yeah, it was really fun, guys.
Close your eyes. Yeah, it was
Just
really
like,
fun.
yeah, can't wait to watch Netflix.
No, this will be the highlight of my day for sure. Question though, is it just live or will there be like another
It'll be
thing
linked.
that
No,
people
it'll
can
keep
listen
going.
to?
And it'll be the
Yeah.
podcast, yeah.
It'll be the podcast. It'll still be up on Periscope. It'll be on YouTube. I'll be on Facebook for your grandparents. So
Thank
a little
you.
bit for everybody.
For you and like the 2 other people on Facebook.
Yeah, totally. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. We're going to see you tomorrow at noon. Don't forget, we have the NFL Draft live show coming up on DNVR at
Tonight.
5:30, I believe.
5:30? Yep.
5:30 kicking it off. It's going to be so much fun, guys. We put a lot into this. Everybody, all hands on deck. It's going to be a whole production. So come check us out. We'll see you next time.